Expletive what?
Expletive infixation.
Infixation.
Is the linguistic term for saying abso-fucking-lutely.
Expletive infixation?
It's putting an expletive within another word. And fuck and fucking.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Abso-fucking-lutely. It's the best for that.
History, I'd like to follow me down the rabbit hole. History, I'd like to, frankly, I want to know.
Hey, welcome back to HILF, History I'd Like to Fuck. Now, the fact is, as cool as you are, as lewd as your own speech may be, something happens to you when I say that F word. And it should. It's supposed to. It is the very purpose of profanity, to catch your eye, your breath, spark your heart a little. And whether you love them or hate them, the fact is that every language contains words that are varyingly forbidden. And their origins, uses, and evolutions are really fucking interesting. Now, in this episode, I sit down with close friend and hilarious LA-based comedian Ryan Ripple, and together we take the dictionary right up the annals of history. So join us as we discuss the history of profanity in general, the origin of the F word, and why the Russians just can't keep dick out of their mouths. I know, right? It's a damn good episode. I'm really glad you're here. Let's get started. My very special guest, also my BFF.
BFF.
Mr. Ryan Ripple. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, friend.
Thank you, a million thank yous. Now, there's a lot of things happening here that I want to tell my listeners about.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is a podcast. You obviously can't see me, but I am sitting in an entirely different place than I usually am. I'm in Ryan's house, sitting at his dining room table. It's nice and quiet in here. So quiet. There's no children here.
There's no children here. Right, no.
But Yogurt's here.
Yogurt, you guys, listeners.
I brought my little dog Yogurt.
Listeners, Yogurt is currently fast asleep in my lap. And just like the Grinch, my heart grew 3 sizes.
Oh, I've had dogs my whole life. I've never had a little dog. I found myself with this little Chihuahua Papillon mix named Yogurt.
Beautiful.
He came to us in these mean streets of LA, hungry and alone in the middle of the pandemic, unmicrochipped, and nobody wanted him. Oh, what a gem this little Yogurt is. He is a smooth, chill guy.
I'm deeply, deeply in love with this dog.
Oh, Yogurt is a miracle. I encourage you all, if you are not already tempted to go to my Instagram, go for Yogurt.
Go for Yogurt.
If you're not, if HILF doesn't draw you in, just go for Yogurt. Also, my husband's babe, but
Total babe.
You don't have any pets.
I don't.
It's a shame.
It's a shame.
It's for the pets. I feel like there's a lonely pet out there in LA that like is missing out. You are missing out on a pet, but a pet is missing out.
I know. There's a
also
little piece of my heart waiting to be filled by a furry creature.
Oh, see, now I have the power to edit, and what I can do right here is I'm just gonna have it be.
You're just gonna edit out the part about the heart. It's just gonna say I have a hole that needs to be filled by a furry. That's what it's gonna say.
That's what it's gonna say. And also my grew 3 sizes. Like this is.
And then I'm just gonna be like, oh, but you know what? I am not mad at it. You're not wrong. You know,
You're a dear
put
friend.
on a Fozzie the Bear costume, and I am just like rock hard right away.
Prove it.
Waka 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 waka.
Hey friends, I met Ryan. Walk with me on this memory lane here, Ryan. We met in the spring of 2015. We both were auditioning to be backlot tour guides at Universal Studios Hollywood, the entertainment capital
of LA.
We both got the job. It's a very difficult job. I don't want to toot. That's
is
my
very
horn
difficult.
I'm tooting. Very difficult to get this job.
You got to basically memorize a fucking 80-page monologue.
Like 500-600 people audition. They choose like 25 of you, and then you go through this long training, and then you wear khaki shorts and mix up your left and your right for the rest of your life.
Yep.
But it was a great job, so much fun. Some of the best people I've ever met, I met doing that job, including you, Ryan Ripple. We became instant friends.
We were at callback number 3, outside of waiting to go in to have like the face-to-face interview, and we sat on that bench together about to go in and just kind of looked at each other, and I was like, I like you.
I like you.
And you were like, I like you too. And we were like, we should be friends. And she was like, yeah. She was like, do you want to have a drink after this? And I was like, yeah. So we did. And it was like 3:00 in the afternoon, and we went to the little Mexican restaurant downstairs, and we drank, we had some chips.
We had like a couple margaritas and we ate some chips, and then it was like, well, you'll be my wedding.
Yeah.
And
The rest, as we say,
history I'd like to.
just teed that right up for you.
You really did. That was
teed
great.
it right
This
up
is
for you.
you asked me what makes a great guest. That kind of
That
horse shit
kind of
right
horse
there.
shit. I will fully admit, everyone, that I did spend the last month of her pregnancy just terrified her water would break anywhere near me and shooing her away from my white rug.
He's not kidding.
I'm
He's
not kidding.
He kept saying like, so when, if your water breaks, like, do you like know where's available? And I was like, dude, you are so much more worried about my water breaking than I am. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know if it's going to happen in your Prius.
Yeah.
I can't promise you it's
I
not
don't
going to
drive
happen
a
in your
Prius
Prius.
anymore. I drive a really sexy Toyota SUV now, guys. I've leveled up.
Oh boy.
But the other thing was I didn't know what was in the stuff. I don't know
Yeah,
what
he
comes
was-
out of there. I thought
he
it was like
is it blood? I was like, no, it's just it. What? He's like, is it pee? I'm like, no, it's wonderful, beautiful, miracle, human making fluid that if you're smart, you'll make a mask out of.
terrifying.
I am so excited about this episode because, as you know, I like to swear. I like to curse.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about why I really relish profanity and why it's no accident that there is a profane word in the title of this podcast. But I'm really curious to know, what is your favorite swear word?
Shit. I love shit.
Shit's a great word.
Shit. Like it's just kind of people don't clutch pearls as much for shit, you know? And I feel like just like it's very much more like you can throw shit out in the middle of a good Southern Baptist church, and I think people will be like, yeah. Fuck elicits some. I think it's the consonants. It's the fuck. Like it's the k.
You're
That's just-
100%
It's
right.
hard. Like it stands out. Shit can. It's the sh. It just can under your breath. Just the.
It
And
literally
it's-
sneaks in like
Shit.
I'm a swear word. Shit.
Shit. And it's nothing. And it's like it can be used every which way. Holy shit. Holy shit. I'm excited about this. Holy shit. Shit. This is a bummer. Ah, shit. Or just, that's bullshit. It's just like
It's a very versatile word. It's a Swiss Army knife.
and I love bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit's a great word. Like, that's
Bullshit's
bullshit.
great. And here's what's great too is like so many of these words, you're going to find that intonation means so much. So like, that's some bullshit.
Yep.
And like, do you want to come over and just
Yeah.
like bullshit? Like,
Exactly.
my favorite curse word is fuck, easily.
I was going to say, I hope it's
And
yours
it's
because you're doing
tied.
out.
It is a tie sometimes between shit and fuck. But like if I was on a desert island and I could only bring one curse word with me, I would bring fuck. And I understand. In fact, the only people who have reached out to tell me that they don't like how much we say fuck and that there is fuck in the title of this podcast are people who honestly love the word fuck too much. It is really like keep it holy kind of deal. Like,
Yeah.
like one of my, I'll go ahead and call her out. Her name is Maggie. She's an English teacher in Minnesota. She's a good friend of mine. She said, Dawn, the only thing is it's hard, it's hard for me to recommend it to people. And I just don't love how much you use fuck. She says, I'm going to say to you what I tell my students when I hear them use it in the hallway, which is you have to save it. Like it's a great word. It's a fantastic curse word. That's why you don't say it all the time, because you got to protect it. And I get it. I understand that sentiment, but it's bullshit.
Bullshit.
Because
It's
it's
bullshit.
just
Sorry, Maggie.
Sorry, Maggie. But here's my first experience with it. Third grade, I got in trouble for passing a note in class that said "fuck you" in the middle of it.
In third grade.
It was a very
dirty
early
dog.
It was a very. It actually
rebel.
may have been a little later than third. I know it was under 10. Okay, and I got in trouble. And the way it worked in my school is if you got in trouble, you got a note home, which was a yellow slip, right?
Yep.
And it basically had a brief description of your transgression. You were expected to bring this note home to your parents, who would read the transgression and then sign it to prove that you had
That
told
they
them
saw
that they
it.
saw it, and then you bring this note back. And I pleaded my case to the teacher. Please do not mention the F word.
To my mom.
My mom. I will call
Lana
Oh, she's gonna be
Adams
so
doesn't
mad.
like the word fuck at all.
It wasn't that it wasn't even that fuck solicited that. I just didn't need the heat. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
And third grade, I don't know how much heat I was getting, but I didn't need the heat. I was like, please don't mention the fuck. And I don't know how it happened, but she was like, okay, but you're going to tell her that it said fuck, right? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
obviously.
100%.
100%. I'm 8.
I know. Yeah.
And I can either get in trouble or not.
I'm 8 years old. I'm gonna fully take responsibility
I
for
don't
my
want-
actions in an adult way with my mom,
Yeah.
that could just possibly end my life.
The
100%.
The reason I don't want you to say it is because I would like to tell her myself.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly, you've read this completely right. I obviously do not tell mom about it. And fretted as you do with the paralyzing fear of the scene of the parent-teacher conference where your mom sits down and Mrs. Carlson says, Dawn told you about the fuck, right? And Lana goes, what? And, right? And guess what? She never said shit, and I never got in trouble for writing fuck. And I learned an important lesson that day, which is fuck it. Because you know what? Fuck it. And also, I wasn't being mean. I want to be clear that the note, I do remember this. I did not write fuck you to somebody like a bully and like pass a note and then look at him like yeah, fuck you. I am very sure that we were writing some sort of like imagined dialogue, honestly,
Yeah.
where we were like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like we are linking arms against some like
Sure.
invisible foe, but it was a powerful word, and I remember using it.
My family is not afraid of curse words, and I think also around third grade-ish, I came home after school, and my beloved grandmother, R.I.P., Yvonne, was a firecracker, and we went to dinner that night, and I turned to my mom and I said, Mom, I heard a bad word at school today. My nanny, without missing a beat, she goes, what was it, Ryan? Fuck. And my mom just, everyone just kind of, and nanny. And she goes, it's just a word, Ryan. See, fuck, fuckity, fuck. It's just a word. We give it the power. It's just a word.
God damn.
That's my fantastic grandmother.
What was the word? I'm very curious. What was the word that you had actually heard
I
at
think
school?
it was fuck.
Okay. I thought you were
pretty
going to
sure.
be like, it was
It
darn.
That should have been the
It was
comedy
darn.
bit.
You got me,
Like
yeah.
she said crap.
Holy shit. Yeah.
It's played a very important part. It's popped up. It's some very important moments in my life as well.
It's an important word.
It is.
It's a sacred word. It's sacred and profane. I mean, some of these words just exist too long in our language not to have attached some sentimentality to it. And that is part of the reason why I included it in the title of the podcast. HILF, History I'd Like to Fuck, is just good marketing.
Yes.
I think it's kind of funny. It made me laugh. And if it made me laugh, I figured people might remember it and it might make them laugh too. But also, using the word fuck is dangerous because podcasts are universal and it's still asterisked out. If you go look at this podcast on Apple or wherever you listen, you'll see that the word fuck is not written out in the title. And that is because depending on where and how you are listening, that can technically relegate your podcast into sort of these these distant corners that can affect your listenership and affect the success of your podcast.
Do you offer the podcast with the fuck bleeped out?
I don't. I may. I mean, if the podcast gods decide to give me $1 gazillion and they say you gotta have an episode,
That'll be Maggie's lucky day.
Yeah, I'm not. Maggie will be like, thank God. No, beep it out and give me money. I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck.
Who cares?
Your bleepers are gonna make a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, they sure will.
But I know that it has and when I say it's dangerous, what I mean is I understand that can affect the success of the show, that people be like, I would love to recommend, as my friend Maggie illuminated, I would love to recommend it, but I can't because you say fuck too much. At the same time, there are a gazillion podcasts out there and a lot of history podcasts and a lot of really good history podcasts and a lot of really good raunchy history podcasts about the history of sex and the history of God bless them. I follow many of them. I think you should too. And there's a gazillion history podcasts that are all about the nice side and where to have a picnic under the fucking good for you don't have to listen to this.
Yeah, exactly. It'll
Yogurt just picked his head up from Ryan's lap like a groundhog.
Keep it down.
Can you guys? This is
keep it
really
down.
profane. I included it in the title too because I mentioned before I am a stand-up comedian, and two of the comedians I have always respected tremendously, among many others, are Lenny Bruce and George Carlin, who profanity was not just a part of their comedy because it's solicitous and reactionary and funny and blue and whatever. It was they also influenced law. The profanity in their comedy changed history, both of them. They were subject to arrest. Their sets were scrutinized to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court had to decide First Amendment and litigation rights and what is stand-up comedy and is stand-up comedy special. And these two comedians kind of ushered it through with their profanity as a vehicle. I thought that was so fucking cool.
That's so fucking cool.
It's so fucking cool. And when you add the fact that I'm a youngish woman, the mother of a baby, talking about something sort of intellectual and elite, the word fuck feels like an interloper, and I like it.
Same. Yes.
And by the way, I mentioned George Carlin. This is a pop quiz. It's sort of like, can you name all of Santa's reindeer?
Oh, God.
Can you name the Carlin 7 words you can't say on television?
No. I'm going to assume it's fuck, shit. I even said my one curse word, just because it's been hammered into my head by my mom, that she does not like. God damn it, she doesn't like God. She doesn't like GD.
Oh, okay.
So it's gotten in. She's
Interesting.
said it so much, and I've gotten proverbially slapped on the wrist for it so much.
Oh, we're gonna talk about it.
that it's like a little, But I would assume it's God damn it. I would assume you can't say that on TV. Yeah. So
Okay, so you
did
got
I get
three.
three?
You got
There's
three.
seven?
You said shit. Well, this is George Carlin's
Are they
list.
curse words
We're gonna-
or
yeah.
actual words?
They're actual. We're going to get into this. But Carlin said there were 7 words you can't say on television. The reality is there is no such list, if only there were. Carlin's 7 words you can't say on television are shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. Which was so funny. I mean,
So
you can-
instead of like being the household that has like live, laugh, love framed on your wall, readers, I think me and Don would arguably be the ones that would be like George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on TV, just like printed in
Like-
giant black letters and framed on your wall.
or like burned elegantly into like driftwood.
You should do that. That should be merch. That should be podcast merch.
You just did it. That's it.
It's framed. George
get
Carlin, 7 words framed.
shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. Get the whole set.
Get the whole set.
I'm gonna timestamp any piece of shit that comes out with something like this after this podcast
We will
airs. You owe
timestamp
me.
it.
You owe me a lot. I like to lay out my research so people know I'm not making this shit up.
She's
In
not,
this
y'all.
instance, I'm really not making this shit up. So here were the 2 books. I read 2 books this time, which I'm very impressed with myself because
Did you bring them?
Yeah. Well, I brought the one. The other one I read on my digital reader, which I never really do in large part because I can't underline and write and do all of my bullshit in the margins. So the primary source of a lot of the information you're going to be hearing from me today comes from this book, 9 Nasty Words by John McWhorter.
Oh.
And his last name is spelled like hoarder, like a whore, which I find very great. John McWhorter. And then the other one is called What the F by Benjamin Bergen. He is a cognitive scientist.
Ooh.
So
Love that
yeah.
shit.
Oh yeah. So Jay McWhorter comes at you with the linguistics, history of words, how words are formed, and then Benjamin Bergen comes at me with the brain shit.
Would fuck both of those men sight unseen just for those resume credits alone.
Okay, well,
those
I
are
will-
my type of people.
We'll at them, and we'll hook you up with them. Anyway, and then of course a lot of personal research on this particular episode. 2 books and a lot of personal research. I can't wait. Ryan Ripple, let's fuck.
Let's fuck.
We talked a little bit about George Carlin and the Supreme Court and how his specific set, 7 words you can't say on television, changed things. Question, do you know about this? Did you know that George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on television got to the Supreme Court and changed law?
No.
I wasn't aware of this either. I vaguely remember hearing the anecdotal evidence that Lenny Bruce and George Carlin both got arrested and or their sets changed laws. But I didn't know the details until I read these books and did the research. So George Carlin has a few different sets. Have you heard the 7 words you can't say on television? You know the bit. You've heard him
Is it
do.
a bit?
Yeah, it's a stand-up bit.
No, I'll be a very
He
bad
did-
stand-up comedian right now and say that I haven't seen a lot of George Carlin.
But such a good, honest answer.
Yeah.
So George Carlin started doing comedy in the 60s, actually, and was doing it sort of traditionally and didn't love it and kind of dropped out of it for a while. And when he came back to stand-up comedy in the 70s, he was edgy as fuck and ready to make money. He was on the first episode of Saturday Night Live, and he was just ready to really kind of stick it to the man and twist the knife and fuck it. And literally. And so one of his early bits in 1972, he performs his first stage recorded production of this 7 words you can't say on television. He does it at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. And the words, once again, are shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits.
Can I get an amen?
I strongly encourage you to go find. You can find this a million ways. The original title was 7 words you can't say on television, but he did this bit like a rock star does their best ofs for the next 15 to 20 years. Some of the words changed a little bit. He titled it Dirty Words, words you can't say. There was but this was the first rendition. Okay. It's very popular. People love it. Not only because it's so blue, and it's so like, we haven't heard this shit before, but he's really smart about it. And he talks about like, why? Why do these words have such power? They're just words. Like, why can't I yell tomato? And,
Right.
like why and how have these words evolved to send people to jail for saying it? So 5-ish years later, 1977, a radio station in California airs 12 minutes of this 7 words you can't say on television bit from George Carlin with a little warning ahead of time. Like, this is pretty blue, right?
Yeah.
And it's aired at like 2:00 in the afternoon. Some uptight fuck, his name is John Douglas. He is a member of the Morality and Media Society, is in his car with his 15-year-old son, and he's outraged. He's traumatized. He's certain his son is traumatized, and he writes to the FCC and is like, how dare you? Somebody must put a stop to my son, my 15-year-old son.
Fucking nerd. What
I don't
a
care.
nerd.
And I'm a historian. I don't care where, when, or how you fucking live. There is no dirtier piece of shit than a 15-year-old boy.
Oh, God.
There is no creature on this planet in less need of protection from profanity than a 15-year-old boy. Are you nuts? Anyway, the FCC puts this radio station on notice. Is like, hey, man, that violates, you can't do that. And the radio station, which is WBAI, and its like umbrella company is Pacifico, Broadcasting, is like, yeah, we can. It's 1977, girl. Let's dance. Like, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
We can say whatever we want. And it goes up the chain of the legal system all the way to the Supreme Court. Can the FCC shut us down, fine us, tell us what we can't say on the radio? And in this sort of uniquely American moment, the American Justice Department comes in and fights on the side of the radio station
Hell yeah.
against the FCC, another government agency,
Hell yeah.
under the auspices of the Supreme Court, our ultimate government. I'm just like, amen, hell yeah, America.
Fuck yeah, America.
It is one radio station doing what they want, a citizen saying you can't do that, and then all of the levers being like, let's hash it out. Mm-hmm. Great, right? Ultimately, the FCC, quote unquote, wins that case. They find, yeah, the FCC can regulate what you can do, what you can broadcast on the radio, but the defense was like, look, we can't air the Watergate tapes if we can't have profanity. So how can we as journalists talk about Nixon and air any part of like real journalism because they swore like crazy in those Watergate tapes, right? And little did they know of the pussy grabbing, which was another FCC issue. There was a lot of questions about how can my kids and all this, and they were like, well, it's the news and the president said it. So there's already been kind of a gray area in like what we're allowed to censor, because if we censor it, then you didn't hear the president say this thing, and you should probably hear that. So they were like, if we can't talk about what's happening in the world with our major government officials, then that is important censorship. We can't have that. So the Supreme Court is like, okay, so here's the official ruling. Yes, the FCC can regulate speech and limit some things that you're allowed to say. They can limit what is obscene, but not what is indecent.
Okay.
As if these words were universally defined and had no gray area.
And I'm guessing this means, just like to clarify, they can tell you what to say, not just overarching declaration of like they can tell you whenever. I'm guessing it's just like in public, on public airwaves, right?
Exactly. So when this came down, which it was finally ruled on in 1978, we did not have the internet. We didn't have anything really like cable yet. So they're really just talking about radio and television as it existed in 1978. And even that what's obscene and what's indecent, they were literally like, we'll know it when we see it. If only they had a list of words like George Carlin laid out, then you would know you can't say these words. And some of those words, like fuck, is clear. Everyone knows you can't say fuck.
Right.
But you can say ass. And George Carlin talks about this. I think you say ass if you're talking about a donkey, but you can't say ass if you're talking about a person being an ass or someone's ass. You can say, damn, it's also, and we can't, like, how can this be how we legislate? Like, it's all about interpretation. And basically the Supreme Court was like, totally. And yes, it is about interpretation, and we will be doing the interpreting, and we'll pretty much let you know when we hear it. What they had originally ruled on covered television and radio as we understand it. They later, or maybe even at the time, I'm not sure, frankly, when subscription cable officially started, but there was always an exemption for subscription services.
Right.
The idea from the Supreme Court being, if you don't like it, you end your
Don't buy it.
subscription, right?
Yeah.
But if it's just like you turn the TV on and it's on, even though I'm like, you can change a channel, but maybe not, because remember, there were only 3 channels.
Exactly.
There's not a lot of channels. So
Yeah.
you can't, and kids, they always use the, umbrella of the kids. So we got to protect the kids. Even though my Roku home screen with my 3-year-old daughter frequently shows images of violence and fear.
I was about to say, let the kids go play their fucking, war video games. And
I'm just talking about like what they're afraid, just like flashes in front of the eyes of children.
yeah.
They allow violence everywhere. Violence and monsters. The
Fine.
things that are going to interrupt my daughter's sleep and F up my life. I can't believe I just used
Yeah, you just edited. You just edited
you know
yourself.
Why? You know why? It's because I was using a sentence about my daughter.
Oh.
Honestly, I think that was part of my brain.
You just
was like,
self-edited.
I did. That was amazing.
Self-censor.
It happens. Sometimes you need to. But the number of times that my daughter sees an image flash across the screen that's going to scare her, that I have to get between and figure out and try to filter and try to protect her from, is always something scary and violent. Is that guy trying to kill that man? What's wrong with her eyes? Whereas, like, she sees boobs and butts constantly. Her life is a slideshow of
She's
boobs
got
and
some,
butts.
for God's sake.
And they're gorgeous. I wanted to just tell a brief version of the history of George Carlin and how his stand-up comedy set that included a series of profanity ultimately led to real legislative change in America all the way up to the Supreme Court. And Lenny Bruce did it first.
Yes.
When he got arrested in the 1960s, he and his bits and how they went through the legal system established stand-up comedy as a special entity, that it is social commentary and it does not get the same scrutiny as other things, and it shouldn't. And I will argue for the rest of my life that it's a very special
It is.
medium.
Yes, it is.
So here, girl,
Girl.
is what we're going to do.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you the history of cursing in general. I'm
Great.
going to do some how our brains, neurological stuff go down. And then we're going to go through the history of some of the most best words. We're going to do the history of fuck. We're going to do the history of shit. And I am going to then go with a word that even I don't say.
You?
There's a word I'm going to talk about that even I don't say, which is going to be a trick.
Wow.
Because I'm going to talk about it without saying it.
So is this going to be the history of the word fuck or history of curse words in general?
All of the above.
All of the above.
History, I'd like to fuck,
What a-
shit, cunt, shit,
What a way
motherfucker.
to, this is my, I could not have imagined a better first podcast experience for myself than this one right now.
I'm so honored.
What a fantastic subject. Also, I'm sitting across from you on this table right now, figuring out like how to discreetly pour wine into our glass.
Oh, I know. I should tell
I'm
you.
like, am I allowed?
Yes, you
I don't
may.
know
In
what's
fact,
allowed.
top
Can
her
I
off.
pour? Can
You
I pour? Am I allowed
pour
to?
you and me. And if you pour wine on this recording equipment, girl, and you break it, girl.
I'm pouring wine right now.
Cheers. I mean, how could I not be having a blast? History, my best friend, and the wine just doesn't stop flowing. I hope you're having as much fun listening as we are recording. And if you are, don't worry. You don't have to miss us when the episode is over. Follow us on Instagram to see photos and links to all my research, including George Carlin's 1972 7 words you can't say on television. While you're there, you can also see announcements of live events and really cute photos of yogurt. So be sure to...
Follow me, follow me, follow me, follow.
Are the listeners going to pick up on
We
the
do.
fact that I am pouring wine across the table right now?
Sometimes
Oh,
your glass needs to be filled,
Oh.
girl, before the time comes. Now, your eyes lit. I'm going to tell you, when I told you that I read a book from a cognitive scientist, your eyes lit up. You're so excited
that
about
stuff.
this part. Okay, so your fucking brain, man. So language in most of us lives in the left side of your brain. Okay? But when you curse, the right side of your brain lights up. So just technically, from a neurological level, everything you've described and that you feel like why curse words are different is like neurologically backed up. And when you think about it, it shouldn't feel that strange because we already know that. If you have ever heard of anyone who had a traumatic brain injury that affects their language center, it often does not affect their cursing. Including older people, when they start going through dementia and stuff, they will lose all sorts of names and their curses just start coming out free flying. And people will say, I mean, Granny, who never said anything, is suddenly like, that cunt, fuck, bitch, motherfucker, did. And they're like, what? These words kind of come unlocked. Similar with Tourette's. One of
Yeah.
my best friends in the whole world, her mom has Tourette's. Why does the cursing, profanity center of the brain get so triggered in some of these specific conditions? It is because cursing lives in a different part of our brain.
why?
Well, the prevailing research seems to say that the idea is that cursing contains words, but isn't limited to words. It transcends words. It's like we're expressing ourselves, and generally human beings we're expressing ourselves in language or grunts and sounds. But when you can fit sort of an emotional punctuation into a
Carry
collection of
emotion and
sounds,
feeling. Yeah.
and it's about how it affects you when you say it, combined with how it affects the person who hears it. So the word itself is almost a conversation, right? Because like I said, you
Completely.
can't yell tomato and feel a significant cognitive difference. And one of the ways that they test that, so the left brain and right brain and what lights up when you curse is one thing. Another way that they've tested this scientifically is with pain thresholds. So putting your hand in a bucket of ice. You can say anything you want. The how long you can keep your hand submerged in that bucket of ice and endure the pain can be measured. How long could you stand it? And they'll do it before you can curse, saying you can't curse. And then they do it after, saying you can say fuck as loud as you want. Just don't take your hand out. And to a person, you can endure the pain longer. The pain affects you less if you can curse. It really changes how your body reacts to pain, how it recovers from pain, how it expresses pain. We don't know all of these connections, but it's demonstrable how much different it is. You can put your hand in a bucket and scream tomato at the same frequency and with the same look on your face and achieve the same biological effect that cursing does. So it is a fascinating cognitive situation. And why I have to raise a glass to my friend Maggie, because she is correct. It's a sacred word.
It is
and
a
we
sacred
but that
word,
doesn't
yep.
mean we shouldn't say it. By the way, you're going to hear my friend Ryan and I clink glasses. And I suspect for my listeners, it's not going to be the last evidence they have that we're just chugging wine. I'm doing this.
Cheers. Sitting across from someone, if, like, hey, my grandma died, or hey, I have cancer, just saying, fuck, that carries everything that you need to convey. It conveys empathy. It conveys a feeling of like, I'm in the trenches with you. I understand. I'm so sorry. How that's awful. And nothing conveys it better. And I feel like especially for the way that we communicate, if I were just to sit across from you and be like, fuck. That's it.
And that is the power of a word that has evolved over a long period of time, is the way that it permeates your understanding and the ways, the deep and leveled ways that you do communicate. It's how we know that these words are old and have been around a long time.
And I'm sure you will tell us how old they are.
I will. Of course I will. It's HILF, girl. When you're talking about cursing, there's really 3 levels and 3 kinds of cursing. To an extent, the author, John McWhorter, layers these levels chronologically, which is fair because we do sort of evolve and these words evolve with us. Some of them get more harsh and intense and some then kind of fall away. They don't bother us as much. So there is sort of a chronological level. But you mentioned earlier that your mom still like bristles when you say goddamn. And that's the OG.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry. I apologize. But that's the OG. So it's hard to say that for all people all the time, these words fall away because they're landmines.
Right.
You find you stumble upon a word that just really gets under people's skin. You're like, okay.
Well.
But it is true that there are generally 3 kinds of cursing. The first is cursing against God. Things that offend God, that literally call down the curse of God upon someone else.
Jesus.
Goddamn, go to hell, for example.
Oh.
These
I
were...
love that you described it as calling down a curse to someone else, and just because of that description, I'm going to use them much more often. I love calling down a good fucking curse on
It
somebody.
really feels good. These were the big ones that would get you in the most trouble and were the most offensive in the Middle Ages, which is a give or take 500 AD to about 1500 AD. Then you get into cursing where the worst thing you can say is about your body. What is private, your shit and your fucks. Things that have to do with feces and sex become the new big ones because we're moving into our private lives and these things are to be hidden and these things are to be kept behind doors. So these words then at a new time in human evolution get even more strength. Then you move into the third phase, which is the worst thing that you can say. The most profane thing to be uttered from your lips is a slur against a group of people.
Yes.
Okay. So again, the evolution kind of goes from cursing. The worst thing you can say is against God. The worst thing you can say is about the body, natural organs. And then the worst thing you can say is against a group of people in a harsh and slurring way. These are sort of the 3 pools of cursing. The OGs, as I said, are your hells and your dams. Why is Laura Ripple? She's not a deeply religious woman.
I would say she's a deeply spiritual woman. And knowing full well that she's going to listen to this podcast 100%. I'm trying to get this exactly right for her. Love you, Mom. I think she would be the first person to say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but definitely believes in a God and definitely would consider herself a Christian person. And I think is kind of, it feels disrespectful to her to say, God damn it. Which is so funny. It really is hard. It is.
I can see it.
Takes a minute.
I can see you struggling with it.
She's gotten in there. You got in there, Mom.
I feel like when it comes to hell, goddamn it, a lot of times people are reacting in a way that is sort of akin to superstition. Mm-hmm. You don't say it.
Right.
Because you can't take that heat.
Right.
Like, it's the same reason, like, I lived on a boat for a lot of years. There's a lot of superstitions on boats.
Right.
I am not a superstitious person. I barely read my horoscope. I don't care about what's in retrograde. I don't, right? But when I lived on my boat and somebody stepped on board without asking my permission.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't fuck with that.
Right? Or I watched one day a neighbor scraping the name of a boat off the back of
You
the...
don't do that.
If you are going to change the name of a boat, you have to... And why? Because you're going to sink. Why? Because what everyone knows when they live on a boat is you are going to sink. That boat is a fragile little paper mache thing on your fragile little paper mache body out there in an element designed to kill you. And you can't take any chances out there.
Yeah.
And is not our body a frail little paper boat out there in the world? And who has the long list of good deeds or whatever that can tolerate a God damn it? And God goes, what's that?
Yeah.
You little skin sack? Well, you got it. So you knock on wood or you do whatever because you don't fuck with God, right? And we know that this is the basis of these because every word that we have for a curse word goes back to this. A curse word, calling a curse down from God. A swear
Never
word.
put that together before.
A swear word, swearing upon God, swearing to something in the eyes of God. Or you use the word profanity. The opposite of profane is sacred. You are using profane language that is not sacred. So even the few words that we have for these forbidden words link us to don't fuck with God.
Right.
That's the bottom line, right? And
Got
that's
it.
fair. Part of the reason why hell and damn had this original power and continue to have this power in the ears and eyes of Laura Ripple and many, many others is because this was long before we had a consistent written language. There was plenty of examples of human written language, but for the most part, the average person couldn't read or write. So their only form of communication was spoken. And
Right.
so what you say just has more value.
Right.
And if you say, God damn you to eternal hell,
Ooh. I bet girl's mad.
girl, you have put out into the world in a spoken thought the best thing the only way that you can put out into the universe a thought in your brain. You can't write it. You can't shoot a TikTok. You can just speak it. And you spoke it, girl. It's a big deal. 2, by the way, that's literal. The divine is literal. And God is going to do something. And now it's your fault. And 3, the church didn't fuck around. So even if God didn't smite somebody or there was no sort of line from your solicitation of the divine to do something on earth, the church don't like it. And they're, in a word, intolerant of things like that.
That certainly applies.
That certainly applies. And so these words, that's simultaneously why hell, damn, God were our original curse words, and why, as the church diminished in power and a ubiquitous belief in the same monotheistic God and the tenets from this monotheistic God diminished, so did the power of the words that so deeply offended those institutions. Which is where we get the birth of the word fuck.
Oh man, are we talking like first recorded
the big one.
first
Yes.
recorded evidence of the time fuck was used?
I went
Written.
to the heart of fuck. I went deep into the bowels of fuck, and I found the slippery
Very interested in
placenta
this.
from which fuck emerged. I have a question. Before I give it to you, what do you think? I'm curious about your predictions.
I've been thinking about this a lot before the episode. Like, was it because fuck has a lot of meaning and a lot of whatever. We say what the fuck, like oh goodness,
Yogurt.
Yogurt is very offended by that. I was wondering if its first context was the sexual context of fucking being kind of a slang for sex.
It was. And
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, it was.
Hell yeah.
Damn right. Yes, fuck in its first solicitation came from its original meaning, which we believe was intercourse. The origin of a lot of English words can be hard to pinpoint because of all the wars. Very few words emerge completely and fully formed. You have sort of a Latin root, and
That's
or
why
you
I
have
was
a
like,
Roman.
did it have a Latin root?
comes-
We're going to be
Yeah.
like fuck, which is based in the Latin
Yeah.
word frucace, which means like, you know what I mean?
Totally. And sometimes you have like déjà vu. Déjà vu is obviously a French word, but now it's an English word that means, you know what I
same
mean?
thing.
So the words have been evolving like that all the time. Like, what is déjà vu? Well, it's a word we get it now. English has déjà vu now, even though we don't know where to put the accent and,
Totally.
but it's still ours. So the first recorded written fuck was in 1528.
Oh my God.
It is an anonymous monk which were one of the few individuals who could read and write. They were sort of the keepers of written language largely in this period of time. And he is writing some shit. He's writing some. That's why it's anonymous, is he's dishing, girl. And he writes O-D dash fucking Abbott. So with this phrase, as historians are looking through this thing that he wrote, it's O-D fucking Abbott. And so they're like, what is this? At first, they're like, O-D fucking Abbott. So it was old fucking Abbott, and like the L wore off, maybe because it's old as shit, right? It's a 1528 manuscript. And then historians were like, no, there was never an L there. Like you can tell in the transcript, there's not a letter that wore off. But the dash is always sort of self-censorship. It's people who want to write a swear word but don't want to have written it. So there's usually the first letter and then a dash. You may or may not have seen this written out in new or old documents. Self-censorship. Similar to the way that the title of this podcast has the asterisks over the UC, because I don't want to
makes it
write
palatable.
the whole. It makes it palatable, right? But what the prevailing wisdom on this is that the original phrase was the oh damn fucking Abbott. So the self-censorship was still on the word damn, because that was the bad word in 1528. Fucking is new. If you're going to be careful with a word in the sentence that is, oh, damn, fucking Abbott, the word you got to censor is damn.
Especially if you're a monk.
In 1528, especially if that you'll write in this at all.
Yeah.
But what he's saying is, this Abbott that fucks. So to your point, yes, the word fuck, as it was written down for the first time, was this Abbott be fucking.
Oh, the monk was spilling tea.
Exactly. So damn this guy for being a fucking intercoursing Abbott.
Oh my God.
But the word again that's censored is damn, because fucking isn't a problem yet, because that's still just a description. He's be fucking. So the question then is, we know that it was a spoken swear word before this Abbott writes it down in 1528.
Yeah.
Because he heard it and it came from somewhere. And so he's writing down the word that he's heard, fucking. So now the work of a historian and a linguist is like, okay, so this is the first time. And it had, to be fair, if you're deeply into the history of this, it is written in other places. The reason this 1528 anonymous monk is sort of it's because it's the unequivocal use of the word fucking, which is to fuck.
Yeah.
As
sex.
an intercourse,
Yeah.
right? And because it's in the sentence with another curse word that is censored out, it's sort of like, we can debate, but this is really the one that you can't debate. This is the first time we see fucking and written down. And he even does the F-U-C-K I-N apostrophe. It's not fucking, it's fucking. It's fucking.
Just fucking.
Yeah. How were people using it and how are people speaking it is in debate again. You can only guess, unless it was written in the lines of a play, unless it was written in a letter or a diary or one of these. We don't know how the people on the streets were saying it. What we know is that the Vikings word for fucking is fucka. And the Vikings invade England in 787 AD, and they be fucking these English women. So if they're going to find a word that everyone's going to need to know, it's going to be like soup, bathroom, fucking, right? Like,
yeah.
Beer. Like, if we're going to find a handful of words that we share, this one's probably going to be right up there. Then this language that is sort of Viking, Old English, is the root of Norwegian, Danish, Swedish. Then you have, give or take 700 years later, in the year 1066, the Battle of Hastings. And this is generally when the French, the Normans, come in to this region, and there's a whole new amalgamation of these Roman, Greek, languages, Slavics all smashing together. So there's yet another mixing of pots. Like, what words are we going to keep? What words are we going to lose? Whose language is going to be the prevailing English that you and I inherit, right?
Right.
And it makes sense that of all of this, we would keep fucka. In part because it was the root of all of these other languages, and because of something you mentioned earlier on, which is how good it is to say. In English, we select and preserve swear words and curse words generally that are one syllable and end in a consonant. So fucka makes sense. You mentioned some of the uses of the word fuck, how we use it and how it's evolved. One of the ways we know this word is old is because of how many things it means, how many ways we can use it. So here is it's a not an exhaustive list, but it's pretty complete. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. And you want to add, amend, or add in your favorites? Let me know. Okay.
Sure.
One is fuck is used generally as emphasis, but if you told a brand new English speaker or an alien visiting that fuck is simply emphasis, it would obviously be woefully incomplete. Okay.
Totally.
So as emphasis, it was fucking scary. It's a great example of how fuck is used for emphasis.
Okay.
The word fucking in that sentence means really. You could take out the word fucking and put in really. It was really scary. Got it. Fuck as a destruction. Fuck it up. I'm going to go in there and fuck it up. Fuck does not mean really in that sentence, and it doesn't mean sex.
No.
For you to understand what the term fuck it up means, you need to sort of have already chewed on the nuance of the word fuck, right? The third way it's used is deception. He really fucked me over.
Yeah. But even still, that one I feel like, and the fuck it up, it is kind of, it still falls under the umbrella of sex to me. Because when you're like, when you say like, you've been like, he really fucked me. Like the sense of like, you bent someone over and you just fucked them. Like that's kind of in the same, like I fucked it up, I think is kind of the same when it's used in kind of like the negative derogatory connotation that if you're fucking something up, you're bending it over and you're fucking something up.
Totally.
Or if he fucked me, you're saying he really bent me over and just like gave it to me hard and just
Sure.
like in a bad way. And I think we all, to me it's the same umbrella. In
I
my
think that
head,
it is an umbrella, but it's an umbrella with lots of tangents because you're right. The root being sexual intercourse.
right?
Is key to the understanding. It's like a shade. It's like a filter over the word,
Yeah.
right? But the difference between it was fucking scary,
That's totally different.
it fucked me up, and he fucked me over are actually different words. I'm saying
Totally.
again because I am teaching a child how to speak and understand. I am, to be clear, not starting with curse words, but I do understand that there is right, the direction, and there is right and wrong.
Right.
And just having
Right.
and exactly. So there's these fun little stumbles in all languages where you have to explain that they're spelled the same, sometimes not, that they sound exactly the same, but they can mean two different things. So you have to really listen to the context of the whole sentence, and you have to consider your speaker to determine how that word is being used.
Which is so interesting.
Totally
And
interesting.
so complex.
So complex. You may have an understanding that is tied to the sexual act, but you understood what this word meant long
Yeah.
before you had sexual intercourse or even knew what sexual intercourse was, in
course.
large part because of how the word was used, right? Fourth way is dismissal. Fuck it.
Ugh.
And if somebody looks at you and goes, fuck it, you don't worry if they mean you want me to go have intercourse with it, or you mean it is really something significant. You understand that in just those two little words, you mean throw it away. Don't worry about it. Get rid of it, right? The fifth way, it's daunting. Get your fucking hands off me.
Right.
You do not take out the word fucking in that sentence. You cannot say, get your really hands off me.
No.
Daunting is I am emphasizing, so it is still emphasis, but I'm emphasizing it in a super nuanced, sophisticated way that lets you know the seriousness.
Of what you're saying.
Your fucking hands, right?
Yeah.
And this is again,
That's one of my
it's so
favorites.
juicy.
It's one
and
of my
then
favorites.
one of the last ones is what the author, I think it's the best description I heard, describes as the down to earth use, which is, he built the fucking space shuttle. Again, it's emphasis, but you wouldn't say he built the really space shuttle.
Yeah.
That's not, he built the sexual intercourse space shuttle. No, so it's not that. He built the fucking space shuttle. It's emphasis that has to do with exhilaration, with exaltation, that again is nuanced and not contained in another word.
Yeah.
The only thing, honestly, when somebody's like, you can't say fucking, but you still need to convey that feeling, I'd be like, he built the motherfucking space.
Yeah,
I don't know what else.
I don't know. There's something you can replace it with. That's adequate.
All I'm doing then is like with my face and with the way I say space shuttle.
Yeah.
But fucking does that for me, right?
Yeah.
The other wonderful thing that
And
the word,
what was the word how did he describe it? That's your favorite
the
way?
down to earth.
The down to earth. Because that's one of the things I thought about too as we've been talking about it. It's interesting that he described it that way. Is that how there is a moment of, for some reason, like when someone curses around you, you feel like you're seeing a more authentic, there's something, it is a down to earth. There is a connective where you're like, oh, behind closed door, this person was like, that fucking guy. You're like, we're having a moment right now. Like I'm seeing
Authenticity.
you're seeing, there is a part of it that is like linked to authenticity because you're like, I've always been obsessed with like celebrities that are super clean on TV, like hearing interviews or something that's kind of like off the record, or them in a more real moment at home where they're just like, this fucking da 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 da, and hearing them curse, and you're like, I like you better now.
Right.
Because there is a down to earth, authentic, you're letting me see a kind of a real side of you that's just like everybody else. And I don't know why hearing them say fuck or any kind of curse word signals that to me. But that's how it feels. There is a down to earth.
And I'm a potty mouth. I mean, people, my whole life, people have known, like, ooh, fucking Dawn's gonna fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I knew Andrew Melby and I were going to fall in love, and it was a perfect match, was because when he took me home to meet his mom, she said fuck before I did.
Ugh.
And I was like, Liz, did we just
Liz.
become best friends? And we did. But here's the other special thing that fuck can do. And other swear words can do it, but not as effortlessly as fuck can. Are you ready for a new phrase? This is going to be your new favorite phrase.
Oh my God.
Expletive infixation.
Expletive what?
Expletive infixation
Infixation.
is the
that one
linguistic
word?
term for saying abso-fucking-lutely.
Expletive infixation.
It's putting an expletive within another word. And fuck and fucking,
Abso-fucking-lutely.
abso-fucking-lutely. It's the best for that. And we all know, again, nobody probably until right now has sat you down and explained the rules of expletive infixation.
Not at all.
You just knew, as a speaker and learner of this language, that you can put fucking in the middle of a word as long as it has two equal emphasi on either side. So you can say abso-fucking-lutely, but you can't say ar-fucking-tistic.
Ooh.
Right?
No.
You can say massa fucking Massachusetts,
Hey.
but you can't say my fucking Ammy. I mean, you can, and by the way, you
don't
can.
know. That one didn't
You
kill me
can.
as bad as that.
But what you'd say instead is massa fucking Massachusetts, fucking Miami. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? How and where do we put fucking?
Right. Like if
to-
you were to say Dallas, like Dal fucking ass. Like that does not work.
Dal fucking ass doesn't work.
Fucking Dallas.
Fucking Dallas. Aw fuckistin.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-mm. No. No.
Hugh fuckist. No.
No.
South fucking Bend.
Yes. San fucking Diego. Even I don't know.
No,
It doesn't
see?
work.
Exactly.
Los
What
fucking
you-
Angeles. That works.
Kind of what you learned is it has to have a sharp emphasis that's balanced on either side of fucking. And if you can do that, you can expletive infix fucking into whatever you want, which is very exciting.
yes.
Now, we love fuck. You and I are not the only ones in the world who love fuck. It's a very exciting word. And as we have explained, it is incredibly useful and versatile. I was very curious. Perhaps you are too. Perhaps you, listener, are too. Do all languages? I mean, a lot of people are speaking
That was
English.
my next question.
I know. Again, my podcast analytics. I have listeners from all over the world who I'm assuming speak English because they understand this podcast, but may or may not speak many other languages. I don't. I speak a little French, a little Italian, a little Spanish, and most of those you only learn the cursing,
Right.
frankly.
Yep.
But I was very curious to know if cursing and swearing function similarly and dissimilarly in other languages. And
Exactly what I was going to ask. Oh my God.
we're so in
We're so in sync.
What you find is that generally, yes, because it's a very human brain thing, which is that there's a neurologically wired place for words that are sort of forbidden and express things in a syllable and in an instance that are shorthand, that are sharp expressions and sharp understandings, and
that contain a lot of meanings in one very short burst of
and the idea
word.
is too, I mean, I don't know how many really traumatic situations you've been in where you got to get a bunch of people to get going awfully quickly. What you need is for their heart to race and their eyes to dilate. You need to get away for everyone to go, right? And you can do a loud sound, right? There's a lot of ways that you can suddenly inspire a bunch of people to get up and do a certain thing. And one of the best ways is get the fuck up, right? You know when your mom said it, or anybody, maybe your mom didn't say it. That doesn't sound like Laura.
Laura
Maybe-
Whipple has no problem saying fuck.
But it has to have a neurological impact on you. It has to make your heart skip. And it can't just be the sound, the loudness or the pitch. I need to get you, right? And this is a word that gets you. So, of course, in all other languages, of course, they have different words, but they need a word that does it. Are you ready? This is one of my favorite things I found. Apparently, and I would really love anyone out there who's listening who speaks Russian, is Russian, would love to give me more information about this. I can't wait to hear from you. But what I learned recently is that in the Russian language, they love dick.
Oh.
Russians love dick. Americans love fuck. Russians love dick. This is a long ass list.
Just super ironic for a country that criminalizes homosexuality. But
Is
continue.
it? But is it?
It's not. I mean, it's
Or
ironic.
would a
It's
cognitive
ironic.
Science,
Yes.
Scientists tell you that these are actually intrinsically
Of
linked.
course.
Okay.
Well, everyone can. But the
listen
irony
to how
is
much
delicious.
dick. Listen to how much dick Russians fuck with. Okay, this is some phrases and how it is loosely translated in Russian. If you say in English, you have zero, zip, nothing. In Russian, you would say not a dick. If you want to say, oh, nothing in particular, there's nothing in particular going on here. In Russian, you could say no special dick.
Oh, wow.
You beat him up. Boy, I saw that guy. I really beat him up. In Russian, you'd be basically saying I really dicked him up.
Wow, they are obsessed.
Smashed to pieces is dick to pieces. Are you crazy in Russian is are you torn off your dick?
Oh, my God.
Get this one. Shitty is basically dickly in Russian. Not on your life in English is a dick up your ass.
Oh.
In Russian, one of your favorites. In America, who
Dicks
knows?
up my ass.
If you were
Dicks up my ass are my favorite.
favorite thing.
That's my favorite.
Who knows in English is dick nose in Russian. In American English, you'd say no way. In Russian, it's dick to you. In English, you'd say out your ass. And in Russian, you'd say up your dick.
Jesus.
Same either way is same dick. I'll be goddamned is not even a dick do I have.
Oh, my God.
And if you're twiddling your thumbs in English, you are swinging your dick at a pear tree
Oh, that is very specific.
in Russian.
That's very specific.
I want you to just look at my notes. Look at how many
You
uses.
just wrote all
look
of
at-
these
Look at
down.
how many uses we have for fuck compared
Can I
to how
keep
many
this?
uses.
I'm going to keep this as like, or at least get a copy of it just to like commemorate my first podcast experience.
I
I'm
will
keeping
give
this.
you.
I'm
I will
keeping
give
this
you my
book.
list of Russian dick phrases.
I never
Please?
thought in any,
They
and I
loved
would
it?
never think that anyone, like, if there was ever going to be someone that's going to be more obsessed with dicks than me,
or
Russia
Putin.
or Putin. Oh my God.
What I'm saying, I did no idea.
Russia?
I'm very. I mean, we can do another deep dive into just what other languages and why and how they evolved. But you said how funny, ironic it is that Russia in 2021 seems to be particularly interested in where you put your dick.
It's
I'll tell you
almost-
why, because they don't shut the fuck up.
It's almost
about
like
it.
the most homophobic people in the world are ones that have slight homophobic tendencies themselves deep down. Weird.
They can't keep dick out of
They
their
can't,
mouths.
exactly.
I don't know how they're going to keep it out of their asses.
As long as we're on language, that was my question. Number one is fuck, or all of our curse words. Are they considered English words?
We are speaking about English curse words, yes.
And it's so fuck is considered an English curse word.
Yeah. Even though its roots, as we've discussed, the
Many
roots may be
languages.
Viking, the roots may be Roman. So, but as we speak the word fuck in English in 2021, yes. That, for example, these 748, when the Viking fucka came up, from that language, 10 other languages have since grown up, Norwegian, Danish, Swedish, right? So that they may have a fuck that sounds similar to us. For example, in French, it's foutoir.
Ooh.
That sounds very similar. Foutoir is fuck you in French. So foutoir. It feels and sounds very similar because the branches of the language are closer to the trunk.
I feel like it's the consonants that is expressing the emotion. Does
It's
that
really
make
when
sense?
you want to be German.
Would you say that fuck is universally understood through any language? Like if you went anywhere, it was like fuck, they'd be like, oh, he's obviously upset or very excited, but they would get it.
That's a very good question. Would anyone everywhere understand the word fuck? I would guess, this is a pure guess, that in 2021, almost everyone would know that the word fuck is serious, even if they didn't necessarily know what it meant, because it would be very difficult with the media and the ways in which we communicate and the dominance in that media, largely in the Western world, of English.
Right.
And of sort of romantic languages that share a lot of these vowels and consonants, that you would have to be pretty far removed to hear the word fuck and be like, sounds like a lovely lady's name.
Yeah.
Sounds.
Or, for instance, when let's say you're watching, a Tarantino film with, I don't know, another language's subtitles, would they replace fuck with something else, or would they just leave fuck?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that, but my guess is that most languages have, if they're watching Pulp Fiction and they're getting it, they got a word for fuck.
Okay.
Or a word like fuck that is used in a two guys looking at each other who want to kill each other and are trying to find a sharp word to get each other's heart rate up. Every language, I guarantee, has that word. Whether or not it's related to sexual intercourse and whether or not the vowels and consonants sound like ours, who knows? But that every human being who wants the person across from them to feel pain with the words they're saying has a word. Yeah. So we have covered the neurological history of cursing in general, from the OGs, hell, damn, God, through fuck, and how much the Russians love dick. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, girl, we're going to get into the shit.
Ooh, my first podcast intermission.
Ooh, see you in a fucking minute. Intermission? Can you believe it? Over an hour and 2 bottles of wine later, and we were in fact only half done. There was so much more great fucking material in this episode that it stretched its beautiful yams into 2 episodes. So join us in 2 weeks for the next HILF episode where I continue my conversation with Ryan. We go hard into the shit. We turn left at the other F word and then travel effortlessly down the path from pussy to cunt until we finally get to a word so hot and so sharp, even I don't say it. 2 weeks to the release of part 2. In the meantime, do us a solid and take a moment to leave us a review wherever you're listening. Share this episode, maybe with your uptight aunt, who will really squirm, and subscribe so you never miss the updates. And we'd love to hear your favorite swear word and the colorful ways in which you use it. So drop us a line at HILF Podcast or hilfpodcast@gmail.com. We'd be gall darn glad to hear from you.